What is up, everybody? Welcome to Steelers Almighty. Appreciate everybody being in here, man. Thank you guys for showing up and showing out. We got a good show, good talk. We had a good talk yesterday on our little town hall that we had that went on. Good talk yesterday. We're going to have another good one today, man. So there's still a lot of stuff to go over as far as the Steelers, as far as, off-season priorities for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's important that we cover as much as we can. I get it. This is the dead period. Sometimes it seems like we're going over the same things over and over again. I absolutely understand it, but it's important. It's important. We got to keep talking about it because number one, the more we talk about it, maybe the better that we might feel about some of the stuff that either the Steelers are or not doing. That's number one. But the Steelers have a lot of holes, man. They got a lot of holes. And, we can't just settle for one thing or another. And we'll get into that. For instance, today we're going to talk a little bit about Broderick Jones. Can he be the guy? We're going to talk a little bit about the defensive line. That has to be a priority. I feel like we don't talk about it enough. I just feel like that has to be way, way up there on the Steelers' offseason priority list. And then this crazy Aaron Rodgers talk, it's starting to pick up steam. I don't like it. I know you guys don't necessarily like it, but would it be better? Like, are the Steelers going to be better if Aaron Rodgers was the actual quarterback on our football team? Would we be better? There's certain realities that we have to live with, whether we like it or not. Would we be better? So we're going to break all that down, man. So I appreciate you. Again, thank you guys for showing up and showing out like you guys always do. Remember, you want your question, comment, rant up on the screen. You know how to do that. Super chats are wide open if you want to help support the channel that way. Memberships are also available if you want to become a member and get that membership. I don't want to call it classified content, but it's definitely different content. So if you guys want to do that, make sure you sign up and to help support the channel that way if you want to get that type of content. So let's get rolling. First things first, Broderick Jones. We got to talk about Broderick Jones. We're talking about off-season priorities, and one of the priorities has to be, can Broderick Jones be the guy? That's the first thing. Like, we're talking about off-season moves and what chess pieces that we can put together to make the Steelers fit and here and there and yada, yada, yada. And all that's great. But one of the bigger chess pieces that the Pittsburgh Steelers have to figure out is who's going to be the left tackle, and is that person going to be a competent left tackle? So I think the Steelers obviously want Broderick Jones to be the guy. They drafted him to be the guy. They didn't play him there his first year. They took Broderick Jones, although he was really good, he was still somewhat raw. And I think the thing is that people looked at it as, well, we want to work him in, but we don't want to rush him. Well, then Chucks was playing absolutely horrific, which, again, he wasn't a good tackle to begin with. Let's just be honest. So they had to put him in. And then they did. And he played pretty well at right tackle his rookie year. I mean, it wasn't phenomenal, but people were confident. I mean, you talk about Broderick Jones' rookie year, and people are like, yeah, man, we got something. We found one. Struggled a little bit in pass protection, but it's like, you know what? You get another offseason under your belt, get a little bit of rest, and then you understand a little bit more on how to be a pro, figure this thing out. Well, comes back the next year, you're thinking him, Dan Moore, and we draft Troy Fautanu. Troy Fautanu comes right out of the gate and says, hey, man, I played left tackle in college, but I am more comfortable playing right tackle. And everybody's like, absolutely, perfect. That's exactly what we want to hear. He's more comfortable at right tackle. We already got our left tackle. We can make Dan Moore the swing tackle. Well, then Dan Moore, I'm not really comfortable playing right tackle. I can't do it. And, I'm a left tackle and I perceive myself to be. And the Steelers, for some reason, loyalty gets in the way and they say, well, I'm sorry. No, we want you. We'll let you just stay at left tackle and we'll make Broderick Jones the swing tackle. And in my mind, alarm bells went off because in my mind, I'm thinking, hold on a second. You move up in the draft to draft this kid 14th overall for him to be the swing tackle in year 2? That doesn't make sense to me. What am I missing? I mean, was he not capable of taking over the job? And then he goes out. Faetano gets hurt. Jones is put in at the right tackle, doesn't play well. As soon as Faetano is healthy to play, he immediately goes and plays right tackle, takes Jones's job. So all that said to me was Faetano was better than him at right tackle, and he was going to be the guy. And then Broderick Jones wasn't good enough to beat out Dan Moore? Huh? Yike. Faetano then tends to get hurt, and this time he's out for the year. And we got to move Broderick to right. And, oh, my goodness. That's and Broderick didn't play well. Let's just call it what it was. He didn't play well. Now, Dan Moore didn't either. But here's the problem with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They should have just said to Dan Moore, look, thank you. We appreciate that you can't play right tackle. But if you want to be a part of our roster this year, you're going to have to learn how to do it because we're going to put Broderick Jones at left tackle. That's what's happening. And if hindsight obviously is 2020, but had you done that, I mean, would Broderick have been worse than what Dan Moore was? I mean, think about it. Dan Moore played pretty good the first 8 games of the year. After that, he was a disaster. So would he have been worse? Now, I know what people will say. Well, Faetano got hurt. What were you going to do? Okay, if you need to move Broderick over at that point, fine. Okay. Or maybe you could have traded Dan Moore in the offseason. You don't think the Kansas City Chiefs would have traded for a left tackle? Maybe. You don't know who would have got a guy. Again, he's got a ton of starts. Maybe somebody would have given you something for him. But they didn't do it. Now here we are, 2025. Now there's already some people that are saying Broderick is a guard. Yeah, I don't know if Broderick's a guard. A guy with that kind of athleticism, his size and the way he moves, that's not guard or I shouldn't say tendencies. That's not what a guard looks like. He doesn't look like a guard. He doesn't play like a guard. Okay? Broderick Jones can be a tackle. It's just a matter of, can he do it? But to just say, well, he's a guard, I'm like, no. I'm not going to go and say that he's a guard. He's super athletic, super powerful, so tall. He got long arms. He can play tackle in this league if he can play in the league. Let's go that far and say Broderick Jones can play in the NFL because it's not out of the question that guys just, I mean, the Steelers don't hit on every first-round draft pick. I mean, we've seen guys that just can't play. It happens. Is he one of them? But I wouldn't just say, yeah, he's a guard. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. And to say that, like Mr. Dresden said, he's not an exceptional tackle. Well, do you have to be an exceptional tackle to play in the National Football League? That's not the requirement. Now, we're going to say that, well, we drafted him 14. We need him to be exceptional. We just need him to be okay. We need him to be good. He doesn't have to be exceptional. That's not a requirement. Okay, we just need somebody that's competent and that's good at the position. So to say that he's a guard, I'm out on that. And yes, thank you, Mr. Malone. Fair to middling. I wouldn't say middling. We need better than that. We just need average tackle play. Just give me that first, and then we can build off of that. So We need that first. And it doesn't matter where somebody was drafted. I mean, for instance, if you're drafted 15th and you're just a good tackle, what does that mean? We get rid of them? Is that what it is? Hey, man, we drafted you 15th. You're not exceptional. You're not a Hall of Famer. You're just okay. So we're going to get rid of you. Huh? That's not how this works, man. That's not how it works. You get drafted where you get drafted. How you play is something totally different. So you can't hold somebody hostage by saying, well, we drafted you number 1 overall. You're good, but you're not Hall of Fame worthy. So we don't want you around anymore. You can't run a franchise that way. That's not how football works. And not to mention, they didn't choose where they got drafted. Guys don't choose where they get drafted. Okay? They don't make that decision. So maybe somebody makes a decision and they drafted them too high or they drafted them too low. Either one, your play does the talking. So that's what it does. Your play does the talking. So, but either way, we need Broderick Jones to be the left tackle this year. And we need average to good out of him. We can't have below average. Because the one thing that I know for a fact, if that's the kind of play that we get, it's time to move on from Broderick Jones. Look, you got your shot. Here's your opportunity. If you can't do it, we're moving on. And we'll try again. I say it all the time. And for the most part, you guys believe me and you guys agree with me. Is that if you make a mistake, we don't necessarily like making the mistake. But when you live in the mistake, that's where the real problem comes in. And we don't need to live in the mistake. Absolutely, Mr. Malone, Mark Malone, like Devin Bush. We moved up, we drafted him. It was a mistake. We moved on. We moved on. It's look, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. You're not going to get the draft 100% right. You're just not. People aren't going to do that. That's not possible. But you can't just sit there and act like, oh, well, yeah, we're going to do everything. We're just going to keep him. We're going to extend him. We're going to make this guy be a good football player. Well, no, you're not. No, you're not. Somebody said like Lima Sneed or Swede. Yes, exactly. And the thing about it is, that's a good point. Broderick's got the tools. I mean, there's no doubt that he's got the tools, but he's also got to put it together. You know, he can't be sulking. You see Broderick, he makes a mistake. He's looking to blame somebody else for a snap count, or maybe somebody didn't do something on a double team. Hey, man, go out there and play football and go bust some heads. Because the thing that's frustrating with Broderick is that when he does it right, and we see him do it right, it's incredible. It is incredible. When he washes a guy down, that guy moves 5 yards. When he gets out in space and actually knows what he's doing, he gets out in space. He's athletic enough to block corners. Those guys don't get around him. You know, when he goes up to the second level, he latches on. When he latches on to linebackers, he's doing his thing. And you're like, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy we drafted. Now we got to get the consistency out of him. Now, part of that is Pat Meyer, which, I mean, we can talk about that all we want. Pat Meyer, I'm just not sold on him as an offensive line coach. I'm not. I'm not. So maybe he can turn it around, but I haven't seen him develop anybody. Here's your opportunity with a perfect guy that's got all the physical tools. He's just raw. Where's the development? You got another guy in McCormick. He's got the tools. He's got the mindset, that nasty mindset that you can't teach people. Well, okay, first year, you throw him in there when he should have been watching. Okay, I expect McCormick to take a gigantic step forward this offseason for Pittsburgh. That's what I'm expecting. A huge step forward. And if he does, you know, maybe the Steelers don't have to go get a guy in free agency. I would pause for that. I don't. That's not the move I would do. I would still go get an offensive guard if I'm the Steelers. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it just Myers and what I'm just not sold on him being able to develop guys. But I think Broderick Jones has got to be the guy for the Steelers to go where they want to go. He has to be the left tackle that we drafted him to be. Now, he doesn't have to be Hall of Fame worthy. I'm just saying he's got to be a good left tackle. A good left tackle. Because we didn't get that good left tackle play last year. We didn't get that. So when you're talking about quarterbacks and offense and all that stuff, it's tough to have. Look at the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Just think about that for a second in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs tackles got their ass whipped. And how effective were they with the best quarterback in the league? That's all you need to know. Now, don't get me wrong, the entire Chiefs offensive line was getting their ass whipped. But the tackles especially were literally getting destroyed. And what did it look like with the best quarterback in the league? They couldn't do anything. So before we just run off everybody and, all the quarterbacks suck and Arthur Smith sucks and the wide receivers suck and the play calling sucks, which, again, I'm not saying all of that's still not true. Don't get me wrong. But, again, the totality of everything, the offensive line wasn't good. Our tackles were bad, man. They were bad this year. I mean, they led the league in giving up sacks. One gave up 12, one gave up 11. Oh, my God. So that's all I'm saying. We just need Broderick to be good. He doesn't have to be great. It would be awesome if he was great, but we just need him to be good. We just need him to be good. So that's all. And we'll see what happens. This is his opportunity. A lot of people giving Broderick excuses, playing the right tackle. I didn't cut him any slack. I said, nope, I don't want to hear it. He played fine as a rookie. He took a step back last year. People didn't want to hear that. People didn't want to talk about that. Well, he'd be better if he was a left tackle. Okay, great. I believe you. But he was pretty good last year as a rookie playing right tackle. Why is he worse now? Just answer that question. Nobody had any answers for that. That's why I didn't give him a pass. That's literally, oh, well, he's hurt. Well, if you're too hurt to be out there, then don't play. But if you're out there and you're good enough to be out there, you don't get an excuse for bad play. And I think that's another thing that people, they want to excuse off. It's like, well, you're hurt. Okay, look, everybody plays hurt from time to time. But when do you get the excuse, hey, I'm hurt, so I'm going to play bad? Like, where is that written? Where do people get passes for being hurt to play bad? That's not how it works. Well, he gave up 3 sacks. He's hurt. Well, then get his ass on the bench. You know what I'm saying? And put somebody else in there if somebody can't play. And that's being hard. Hey, Big B, you don't play in the NFL. You're right. I didn't. I absolutely didn't. But football is football, whether it's Pee Wee or the National Football League. If you're hurt and you can't play, then you don't play. But if you're injured or whatever you want to call it, I know there's a difference, and you're out there, then you don't get the excuse of bad play. That's not how it works. So, and hopefully Broderick is good. Hopefully he is. We'll see. Hopefully he is. What is that? All Baker Mayfield if you get a pass for being hurt. Baker Mayfield didn't get a pass for being hurt. Think about that. Baker Mayfield got cut by a team that took him 1 overall when he played with basically a broken shoulder. He tried to go out there and play. And what happened? Cleveland said, nope, sorry, you suck. We're moving on. That should tell you everything you need to know about playing when you and not getting a pass for bad play because you're hurt. Cleveland knew he was hurt. Hell, we all watched. We knew Baker Mayfield was hurt. He couldn't even throw the ball 25 yards down the field. But yet he was out there. He had bad play. Cleveland said, you suck. Baker's like, hey, man, I was hurt. You knew that. Too bad, so sad. Get up out of here. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Baker, you're exactly right. Baker didn't get a pass. So nobody, that's just not how it works. That's not how it works. And that's a good point. I would have taken Baker Mayfield in a heartbeat if the Steelers would have signed him. I'd have taken him in a heartbeat. But again, we don't know everything behind the scenes, and it takes two to tango. So we may have wanted Baker. Baker may have said, no, I don't want to go there. So I would have taken him. I absolutely would have taken him. But that's what my thing is with Broderick. That as far as off-season priorities, and we're talking to off-season priorities today for the Steelers, you can't forget about in-house, and Broderick is one. Moving on. Defensive line. I know we don't like talking about, putting resources and stuff into defense. You have to. We have to. The reason that the Steelers got whipped last year, look at our defensive line, man. Other than Cam Hayward, and again, I count TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith as part of our defensive line because those guys, we were in the nickel 58% of the time last year. So when you're in the nickel 58% of the time, then damn it, those guys have to count. But other than like Keanu Benton out of position, he's not a nose tackle. The quicker the Steelers can get him into his position and out of playing nose tackle, the better off we're going to be. The quicker they can do that, the better off we're going to be. We have to go find a guy that a nose tackle, especially when we're in our base 3-4 defense, which I can't stand, but whatever. When we're in that, then we have to be able to find ways to stop people, to occupy blockers at the point of attack. And having a big nose tackle is part of it. The defensive line has to be a priority. We had a chat on Monday, and it was taking 2 defensive linemen in the top 5 picks. I'm like, I'm in on that. I'm 100% in on that. The Steelers have to do it. We can't count on, like the Isaiah Loudermilks or the Logan Lee type of players and where they're coming from. That's not addressing defensive line, man. It just isn't. And again, that's no disrespect to those guys, but let's be honest. Are those guys difference makers? No. You're not taking a guy in the 5th or 6th round that you expect to be a difference maker right away. That's not what you're doing. The Steelers got to address D-line early and often and make it a priority. Hell, go sign a guy, in free agency. See if there's a big nose tackle that you can go steal 2 or 3 years from. The nose tackles don't have to be superstars, man. You don't need those guys to be superstars. You just need them to do their job effectively. You don't need your nose tackles to go out there and get you 5 to 8 sacks a year. Hell, if they get you 1, it's gravy. How many sacks did Casey Hampton get, guys? Think about that. How many times did you see Casey Hampton just living in somebody's backfield on a pass rush? That's not what he did. Now, I'm not saying that he never said, but Casey Hampton it's going to take 2 of you guys to block me because if only one guy blocks me, I'm getting past and I'm driving this center into the backfield. So it's going to take 2 of you guys to block me. Oh, by the way, you're not really going to block me because 2 of you aren't going to move me back 1 inch. I'm not taking a step back, nothing. That's what I'm saying. Now, are we going to find a Casey Hampton? I don't know. I think there's guys out there. But that's what we're looking for. A guy that wants to come in and say, I know I'm not a glorified player. My job is to stand right here and not be moved. That's it. We got all these other guys running around all over the place that can go make plays. My guy's to occupy 2 blockers and not get moved. Simple. Now, it seems simple, and I'm saying it's simple, but it isn't hard or it isn't easy to find. But I think they're in this draft. I think they're in free agency. What I would do if I'm the Steelers, I try to find that position in free agency. A guy that's 28, 29 years old. Like I said, try to steal 2 or 3 years from him that still wants to play, that's still competitive, that can still play. Find it there. In the draft, you can go get Cam Hayward types, Walter Nolan, Grant. I mean, there's guys out there, man. There are. There are. First of all, if Walter Nolan is there at 21, the Steelers have to take him. I don't care what wide receiver's available, running back. If Walter Nolan is available at number 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers have to take him. Period. End of story. Period. End of story. If he's there, you take him. And then you deal with the rest. And there's a possibility. I've done some mock drafts. Sometimes you do the crazy mock drafts and see who's around. Well, wasn't the draft last year crazy? Like, you put all these things out there and you think, oh, this is never going to happen. This is never going to happen. Wasn't the 2024 draft when 6 quarterbacks went in the top 12? Wasn't that one where you thought, oh, wow, I never thought this would happen? So it literally just happened. And so crazier things have happened than Walter Nolan dropping to 21 for the Steelers to have. If that happens, I'm telling you right now, Steeler Nation, Steeler family, don't be mad. Don't be mad, man. Just don't be. Don't be mad. We got to have it. So, Mr. Donovan, Joseph Donovan says, I'd like to have Javon Hargrave back. The problem with Hargrave, he's been injury prone. Don't get me wrong. When he's healthy, he's still a really good player, but we haven't seen that in a while. I mean, he's been hurt. That's why he's available, is because he's hurt. So, should we consider looking into Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson? I mean, I don't know what it would take to get either one of them, but people are saying that, well, I wouldn't want Myles Garrett. You guys are crazy. You guys are nuts. And again, I posed the question a couple weeks ago, would you trade TJ Watt for Myles Garrett? And everybody was quick to just say, no, absolutely not. No, never. I'm like, hold on a second. I'm not saying I would do it, but there's a conversation to be had. It's not, no way, never. No, I would never do. Oh, wait a minute. Like, get the Pittsburgh fandom out of your face. And again, I'm not saying I would do it, but you can't tell me that there's nothing to think about. But if the Steelers were to trade for Myles Garrett, I mean, I don't know that I'd be willing to give up 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett. I mean, I'd probably give up a 1 and a third. I'd probably do that. Maybe get back a 4th or a 5th. I'd probably do that. But But I wouldn't give up 2 first-round picks. The Steelers aren't a defensive lineman, an edge rusher away from winning the Super Bowl. Not to mention, if you bring him here, don't you trade Alex Highsmith immediately? Like, that would be the first thing that you do, is that you got him, and then immediately you trade. Hey, look at the bubble, because I put my thumb up. But you would trade Alex Highsmith immediately. I mean, so that's the thing. And so as far as defensive line, we can't ignore it. It has to be a huge priority. We got to get it fixed. We can't keep going into the season with the guy, like last year. What did we do to upgrade the D-line? We did nothing. Like, literally, we did nothing. So we can't keep going in with Montravius Adams and Larry Ogunjobi's and Isaiah Loudermilks. I'm sorry. Again, I mean no disrespect, but we watched them play on the field. That's not going to get it done. We need difference makers. We need other guys. We need other guys. So I would suspect the Steelers try to upgrade that D line in not only in free agency, but also in the draft. So when they do, I don't want everybody upset about it. Again, we got to spend money. We got to fix the defense too. The defense is not, you know how the national media keeps saying the defense, oh, it's a championship caliber defense. No, it isn't. And the thing about that is, I think us Steeler fans, we knew. We were hearing all these pundits talk about how our defense was championship caliber, and we're like, do you all even watch the Steelers defense? Like, have you even paid attention to the Steelers defense? Because if you have, you would know that they are not championship caliber. So, but either way, we got to fix some stuff. We got to fix some stuff. Oh, moving on, man. Look, the Aaron Rodgers to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I get it. It's the dead period. And people, they got to find things to talk about, myself included. You know, I'm not immune. I'm not the media, but I'm not immune to putting things together to try to talk and bring up conversation. That's what we do. We create content. But this Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers is really starting to pick up steam, people. Now, here's the thing that it seems to be real. And I'm like, what is it real? Now, let's break it down. Let's break it down. Is first of all, the Justin Fields is actually looking, and I mentioned this yesterday when we had our little town hall. I'm like, hold on, people. Justin Fields has to want to come back to Pittsburgh. I know everybody says, hey, let's just sign Fields and go that route. Again, I keep mentioning it. It's a two-way street. We can't just dictate where Justin Fields goes. He's got to want to be with Pittsburgh. And the word on the street from very reputable sources, Justin Fields likes the New York Jets, and the Jets like him. Played with Garrett Wilson in college, has a strong relationship with him, got a new coach. And maybe they're willing to roll the dice because the Jets don't like the quarterback market. And they're like, not this year, so we're willing to go with Justin Fields for now. I'm just saying. So if Justin Fields is a no-go, then what? I mean, let me just ask you guys this question. And get in the chat and tell me. Is if Aaron Rodgers was on the Steelers last year, and think of the way that Russell Wilson played the last 6 games, and then you think of the way that Aaron Rodgers played the last 6 games with the Jets. And if you guys don't know, I'll break it down. Aaron Rodgers was pretty good the last 6 games with the Jets. Like some of the games that they lost, like it wasn't his fault. Aaron Rodgers did his job. He was really good. Are the Steelers better if Aaron Rodgers is on the team? And again, take all the other drama, and I know that's hard because Aaron Rodgers comes with that, but if we're just talking about on the field, maybe Rodgers was better. Now, Big B, are you saying you want Aaron Rodgers on your team? Hell no. Okay? Hell no. And for reasons like I just mentioned, I don't want my quarterback constantly blaming wide receivers if they don't run the right route. I don't want him running to the media because he threw an interception blaming my receiver. I don't need that. That's not what leaders do. Okay? I don't need him fighting in the media with Ryan Clark because whether you like Ryan Clark or not, I'm not here to talk about that. But Ryan Clark critiques your play on how you're playing on the field, and then you get personal with Ryan Clark about it, and then you want to go on the Pat McAfee show. And I don't need that from my quarterback. I don't need my quarterback showing up on a talk show every week. The Pat McAfee show during the season. I don't need him doing that, talking about everything under the sun that doesn't matter. I need my quarterback to show up to minicamp versus going to Egypt on a trip to go find himself. You know, mandatory mini camp. I need my quarterback there. So for all those reasons are why I don't want Aaron Rodgers. But if you're literally just talking about play on the field, I'm going to be honest with you. Aaron Rodgers is better than Russell Wilson, people. He is. He is. He is. And I know y'all are going to get in the comments and you're going to get mad and you're going to scream and shout. And I'm going to let you scream and shout. And I'm going to say this, and I don't say it often. You guys would be wrong. You would be wrong. Because if you just talk about play on the field, first of all, hadn't Aaron Rodgers always been better than Russell Wilson? I mean, hadn't he always? So why is it different now? So just keep that in mind. No, Russell is not better than Aaron. No. He's not a better quarterback. Either way, I don't want him. So, and yes, absolutely any quarterback that we sign is going to be a stopgap. So, yeah, Aaron is better than Russell Wilson. And again, that's not a slight to Russell Wilson. Or maybe it is. Maybe we can take it as a slight. I don't care. But Russ isn't better than Aaron. But Aaron comes with a ton of baggage that hurts franchises. That's the problem. He comes with stuff that is going to get in your locker room. Now, we've prided ourselves over the last few years of kind of eliminating those kind of issues from the locker room. Chase Claypools of the world, the Deontay Johnsons of the world. You know, we've gotten rid of guys that were problems in the locker room. Let's just say that. We've done a good job of getting those guys out. So that's the difference. That's the difference. Brother man, you're way off base talking about how many Super Bowls has Aaron Rodgers taken compared to Russell. Is that what it is? Is that what we're talking about? So is John Elway a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers? Because John Elway's been to 5 Super Bowls. You know, you got it, or better yet, is Russell Wilson a better quarterback than Dan Marino? Because Russell Wilson's been to 2 Super Bowls. Dan Marino's only been to 1, and he hasn't won one. So are you going to tell me that Russell Wilson is better than Dan Marino? Come on, man. I get it. You don't like Aaron Rodgers, and neither do I, but let's not go off the deep end and say crazy stuff. We can't do that. We can't do that. S. Dresden with the super chat. We appreciate you supporting the channel. My member says Clark and Rodgers are both obsessed with ego. Clark and Rodgers. I'm not sure who Clark is, but I get it. So, I get it. But yeah, bridging the gap with Aaron Rodgers, there's probably some worse things in the world. Oh, you're talking about Ryan Clark. I got you. And they are. They are. You're right. You're right. Either way, I don't need my quarterback arguing with a guy in the media, through the media. You know, that's not what I need my quarterback to do. I need my quarterback to just do film study, get right with the offensive line and with his receivers, get game plans together. I don't need him arguing in the media with people. Regardless, I don't need it. But Dresden, you are 1,000,000% correct. They're both ego-driven. But most of us are, aren't we? Hell, I'm ego-driven. I think I'm the best Steelers podcaster on YouTube. I believe it. I haven't reached the most people. We haven't done this a year yet, but I 100% believe that I'm better than those other guys out there. I do. But, so I got an ego too. Because I think if I had the same platform as everybody else, and you guys are helping us get there, by the way, I just throw that out there, I believe that I am just as good. I don't think I'm just as good. I think I'm better. So everybody's got an ego. It's okay to have an ego. But my quarterback can have his ego, but my quarterback can't be arguing with media members, through the media. I can't have that. So I can't have that. So that's my thing. That's my thing. So I don't know, man. So, and here's another thing. Are we just done with Russell Wilson? Like, I know the media is spinning things, and because again, hey man, it's a dead period. Everybody needs stuff to talk about, myself too. Is everybody just done? Is Russell, are we just out of here? Are we just, we're not bringing back Russell Wilson. The Steelers have just moved on. Because it seems like that's where the conversation is going, is that the Steelers have just moved on from Russell Wilson. So I don't know. And that's a good point, says Zay Curry. If you don't toot your own horn, nobody else will. That's exactly right. But when you're the leader of the team, you have to be humble. There's opportunities for you to toot your own horn. You got to pick the right spots. Publicly arguing with media members is not the time. That's not the time, man, to toot your own horn. So, they can't bring Russ back. I mean, they can. Let's not say they can't bring Russ back. They absolutely can. I just think that the attention right now, and again, until free agency actually starts, and somebody mentioned it earlier, it can't get here fast enough. You're exactly right. I don't disagree. Tyrone Johnson makes his way back to the chat. What's going on, Mr. Johnson? We appreciate you. He says trade up for Mason Graham in round 1. First of all, it's not a horrible idea to take Mason Graham, but the Steelers are on a defensive lineman away from being Super Bowl contenders. So the draft capital that you would have to give up to go get him doesn't make it worth it at this point. Sorry. It's not that he can't help. He would absolutely help. But where you would have to go to get him, the Steelers can't afford that. They've got other holes. They can't give up, second and third round draft picks in this draft to go move up for one guy. It makes zero sense. So, 0 cents. Bringing back Russ just guarantees another 10-7 season with a poor playoff performance. Probably. Because Russ will be good for half the year. You know he will. He'll be good for half the year. But there's going to be 7 or 8 games where you're like, gee, many Christmas, this guy sucks. There might even be 10 games where you're saying, man, this guy sucks. But the Steelers win 2 or 3 of those games anyway. Hell, think about the Cleveland game last year in Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson wasn't any good in that game, but the Steelers won. So, that's the thing, is that we got to figure out. No, we can't trade Freiermuth. You're trading Freiermuth. Then we have no tight end, a pass-catching tight end. Come on, man. You're not trading Pat Freiermuth, not to mention the dead money hit that you would take for trading him after you just signed him. No. Money's involved in all of this too, man. It's a business. So there it is. Move down, if anything. We need pieces. Yes. Like, if the Steelers at 21, if we moved down to 27 and picked up an extra second and a third round pick, the Steelers need to do that. They absolutely need to do that. Now, if you got to move from 21 to 30 and you're not gaining at least 3 picks, well, then no. And I wouldn't move down past probably 25, anywhere between 25, 27 is probably the max as far as where I would move back. That would be the max. And that's only depending on how the draft goes. Because let's just say in the draft that D-line, there's a run on D lineman, and the Steelers need one, and we're up. Well, we can't move back at that point because we got to take one. But let's just say there's not. See, and that's the thing. D lineman, running back, wide receiver, you know, it got a wealth in this draft. It's pretty deep. But so depending on the position, it's like, well, can we move back some, pick up extra picks? Because you know what? We weren't going to take a running back in the third round. But if we can move back 4 spots, get a D lineman, still get another wide receiver, and take a running back a year or a round early and still be able to fill other needs, yeah, now we're talking. So that's what the Steelers need to do. So 21 is a weird place. Yes, it is, man. It's like you got to read the draft at 21. You got to read the room, man, and what is going on. Because, like I said, if there's a run at a certain position that you need, then you can't really move back. Because if you move back, you're basically saying you're not going to be able to get somebody a high priority at that position. Or do you look at it like this and say, let's just say there is a run on defensive linemen early in the draft, and we move back and we say, you know what, we're going to move back 5, 6 spots. We're going to pick up an extra second and a fifth. So we're going to move back. Okay, great. And then you say, well, we could still possibly take a D lineman at 21 or at 27. But no, we'll go ahead and take a wide receiver at 27 because we can take 2 more D linemen down the road in those picks that we picked up and go that route and say we can add more because we got more. It's tricky. It's definitely tricky. And it would be made so much easier if the Steelers didn't have so many needs. You know what I'm saying? Like if we didn't need a corner, if we didn't need a running back, if we didn't need a wide receiver, if we didn't need defensive line help, if we didn't need all of those things, then this becomes a moot point. Oh, by the way, we can't forget about offensive line too. I know I keep screaming that the Steelers need to fix it in free agency, but I don't think they'll do it. But if a big-time tackle happens to fall to the Steelers at number 21, I'll just ask you guys, you think the Steelers should take him? One of the big-name tackles, and let me pull this up. Let me just pull it up so we got names to talk about. So we got a few names to talk about. You know, so we're not just out here BSing. Nah, we don't want that. We want this. An offensive tackle. Now, Simmons, I'm guessing Simmons is not going to drop. But like a Josh Cornley or a Will Campbell. Say Will Campbell drops to the Steelers at 21. He's a left tackle out of LSU, a dominator. Or a Kelvin Banks out of Texas. If those guys are around at 21, do the Steelers take them? And do they do what you guys have said earlier in the chat, move Broderick Jones to guard? I mean, whew. That's all I'm saying. Do you do that? To me, if that happens, I take the tackle. I'm sorry. And say, Broderick, we love you, but we need you to play guard. Or we need you to compete for position. So, but I think the Steelers now, what they really could do is take a guard. Like Donovan Jackson. Donovan Jackson might be around. If you could get him in the second round, then yeah. You know. Or a Marcus, I think it's Mebao from Purdue. If you could get him in the second round, that's the thing, man. You can't ignore offensive linemen. You just can't. You just can't. Especially since we're saying that the Steelers' offensive line isn't that good. You know. So, Mark Malone, you're saying between an offensive lineman and Genty, you're taking Genty? No way at 21. For what? Come on, man. No, 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 no. No. For instance, look at Saquon Barkley. How good was Saquon Barkley with no line and with the Jets? How good was he? He immediately goes to a team with a line. He's damn near the MVP of the league and almost sets the rushing record. You got to have the line, man. You can find running backs. You don't have to have the next Eric Dickerson on your football team to win a Super Bowl. That's not required. Hell, look at the Super Bowl. Barkley didn't do anything. So the O-line is first and foremost outside of the quarterback. So you can do and say whatever you need, but I'm not taking Genty at 21 with all the needs that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. That would be crazy. But that doesn't mean we won't do it. But that would be crazy. So it's nuts. Dresden says he would take no O-lineman in this class before round 4. Invested far too much there within the last 3 years. So basically what you're saying, Dresden, is that because we've invested and maybe it's not that good, you'll just say we invested in it. We just got to lie in the shit if it's shit. I don't believe that. Mm-mm. I think, hey, we invested in it. If it's shit, stand up and walk out. Don't just lie there. And don't just lie there. Like, again, I've said it a million times. You make a mistake, okay? Get out of the mistake. Just don't, we made a mistake. Well, we'll just got to deal with it. We'll just continue to make the mistake. We'll live in it. No. Doesn't make any sense. So, doesn't make any sense. And somebody's asking about Siamalu. Here's the thing. If they cut him post June 1st, it doesn't save $10 million. It saves 7.8. But why would you cut him? Like, he's not the problem. But I guess you could. But that's if you sign somebody else. But we do have to have some guys playing the offensive line. But I wouldn't cut him. I get it. $7.8 million, but I wouldn't cut him. So, and how bad would it suck to draft another bust offensive tackle? What do you mean we couldn't miss with Genty? And what? Okay, I got to stop taking that seriously. Yeah, you can miss with anybody. You couldn't miss with Trent Richardson either. Look what happened there. Best prospect that they said in the last 20 years was Trent Richardson. Did he play 4 years in the NFL? So, come on now. And everything that Trent Richardson was, he's faster, bigger, more elusive, all those things better than Genty, and yet he didn't play 4 years in the National Football League. What we found out was he just wasn't the same guy in the NFL. That happens to a lot of people. Really good in college, not good in the NFL. So, and Dresden, if your point is correct that the offensive line coaching staff is substandard, wouldn't it make more sense to get better players? If they can't coach them up, which I'm not disagreeing with you, shouldn't you just get better players that you don't have to coach up as much? That's That would be my thing. Hey, man, we don't have the greatest coaches here, so we need to just get better players versus getting substandard players that our coaching staff can't coach up. That doesn't make sense. We need to get better players so they don't have to coach them up as much because our coaching staff isn't any good. Got to build the trenches, man. Got to build the trenches. So, running back's not hard to miss, Mark Malone. Got to stop saying stuff like that out loud, man. They're going to lock you up in a padded room. How many years do you invest in the O-line till it's right? 5, 10 years? I mean, you invest in the O-line until you get it right. I mean, that's the way of thinking of, well, we got to put a time frame on investing in the O-line. That's how your franchise sucks. I mean, hey, man, we're only going to invest in this O-line for 3 years. And then next thing you know, we're not going to invest anymore. You can't put a time frame on investing in your O-line. You invest in it until you get it right. You have to. Because if you don't, your team's going to stink. You can't just stop. And so I applaud the question. That's a great question, Donnie Bird. Great question. But the answer is never. You never stop investing until you get it right. Because if you don't, you're not going to be any good. You're not. For instance, look at the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll just take the Chiefs as a perfect example. They've got the best left guard in football, the best center in football, one of the best right guards in football that they're about to lose, and then they got tackles that stink. The Chiefs took 2 tackles the last 2 drafts at left tackle. Do you think the Chiefs are not going to try to take another one in this draft or try to go sign a free agent? Of course they are. You don't stop investing until you get it right. And they're not, and if they miss again, they're going to try again. And if they miss again, they're going to try again. You do not stop investing in your offensive line. There is no time frame. No time frame. Dresden says, no, B. I believe in exceptional leadership. Well, I think we all believe in exceptional leadership. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I know you're on your bash Tomlin, bash Rooney. I get it. We get it. We get it. So, no, Mr. Bird, you're 100% right. Someone needs to invest in better coaching, better scouting. So, and a better O-line. Yes. Yes, that's exactly right. So, that's exactly right. So, I agree with that wholeheartedly. When do we stop taking these guys and forcing them into positions that aren't comfortable in? Let them play where they're naturally fit and instead of the opposite side. With Travis Kuhn, I 100% agree with you. Enough's enough. Enough's enough. So put guys in the positions where they're supposed to play, where they're comfortable at playing, and let it go. I mean, it was basically, it should have been a fireable offense, but no, they weren't going to fire Tomlin. But you playing Kendrick Green at center in Ben Roethlisberger's last year was coaching malpractice. Let's just call it what it is. That was coaching malpractice. It was almost like Tomlin was mad at Big Ben for sticking around. So he's, okay, you're going to stick around, but we're going to put this guy that can't play center. We're going to make him be the center of this team. Whew. So, my man Byron Nelson always supports the channel, so we'll bring him up. Todd Gurley out of Georgia is a perfect example of what Big B is talking about at running back. Todd Gurley was good for 2 years. Then he got hurt. That was the end of Todd Gurley. And it wasn't, that was the end. You can be good. I mean, For instance, how many people have heard of Bobby Humphrey? Bobby Humphrey led the league in rushing. I mean, was great. A flash in the pan. You can find flashes in the pan. Look at those running backs in Denver. Mike Andersons of the world. You know, those guys are running for 12, 13, 1,500 yards. Never to be heard of again. Why? Because the offensive line was so good. You can find guys to play running back for you, man. It is not, I'm not saying that you just ignore it completely, but you can find guys. If you got the offensive line, you can put guys behind them that can figure it out. So it's easy to miss on offensive line or at running back. It's easy to miss at any position. So it's crazy. Yes, Tomlin handed Kendrick Green the job. Like I said, I just don't know. I don't know what it was. Almost like Tomlin was mad at Big Ben for wanting to stick around another year. But I don't blame Big Ben. Somebody's going to give me $27 million to play football, and I want to play. I'm going to do it. The Steelers should have let Ben go and just said, thank you, Ben. We love you, but you can't come back. We got to move on. We got to move on. Instead, he keeps Ben, holds the franchise hostage, and we still don't have a quarterback. Like I've said it a million times, the good franchises know when it's time to let people go. And the bad ones don't. And here's an example of where a franchise didn't know. Think about the Colts. The Colts thought Peyton Manning was done. They get rid of him too early. The man won a Super Bowl and 2 MVPs after they let him go. So, Dresden, how would you build an exceptional O-line in 2 seasons? Well, you got to have drafting. You got to use free agency. I mean, it doesn't take 10 years to build an exceptional offensive line. Oh, by the way, the Steelers have some pieces. I mean, you act like we can't build an exceptional O-line. The Chiefs did it. If the Chiefs can do it, the Steelers can do it. I mean, that happens, people. It happens. The Steelers do have pieces, man. The Steelers have pieces. So, not sure who you think is playing center for the Steelers. But the Steelers have some pieces. They can figure it out. But you can build an offensive line in 2 years. You can build a good offensive line in 2 years. It needs coaching. Needs coaching. Needs scouting. How would I do it? Well, you got to get a left tackle. That's number one. You got to have a center. Those are the 2 most important positions on the line. Left tackle and center. Then you got to get a right tackle. But my thing is, guards these days are almost just important. So you got to find dogs in there. You got to find guys that can play good. But that's where I would start. Left tackle, center, right tackle, and then guards. You can do it. But you got to make it a priority. Like, you can't say, okay, I'm taking left tackle first round, and then I'll get a center in the second round, and then leave your guards to be, well, we'll take guards in 2 different drafts. We'll take them in the 6th or 7th round, and we'll see if those guys work. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You want to do it? You can do it, but you got to take some guys that are good. You got to do it early. Got to do it early. Can't just wait. Or you go free agency route and you overpay, just like everybody overpays in free agency. Go buy you a guard or go buy you a right tackle. That's what you do. But it can be done. But you can't just do it hoping that you hit a gem in the 5th round at guard or the 5th round at right tackle. You can't do that. Make it a priority. Make it a priority. You're not usually going to get left tackles in free agency. because if you're good, teams don't give it away. So they don't give it away. So that's where I would do. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you guys. We're going to shut this one down for today, man. I appreciate everybody being in here as always. Do me a favor, man. When this video is over, go click the like button and go leave a comment in there. I appreciate all the participation that you guys show. Podcast will be out tomorrow. Make sure you guys show up for that. The free agency can't get here fast enough. It can't get here fast enough. We need some other stuff, some real stuff to actually talk about and break down. I know you guys are tired of it. I'm tired of it too, man. But we'll keep coming. We'll keep coming. So I appreciate you guys being in here. Thank you guys, and aloha.